Okay, so this is gonna be extremely rough, but my plan. Alright, so Age of by One Oh Tricks Point Never. It's a record. So let's get into it. Let's just dive right in. Let's get into it. So for this record, Age of One Oh Tricks Point Never was like, I want to embody this sort of saccharine, like, cliche. Alright, let me turn down the... Gotta make it truly town ambience, wallpaper music. So basically, when OPN / Daniel Lopatin, I'm just gonna use One Oh Tricks, OPN, or Daniel Lopatin, or just Lopatin, or Daniel. They're all the same guy. So that's just so you know who I'm talking about. I mean, it's pretty obvious who I'm talking about, because fucking I idolize him as like a, you know, artistic kind of inspiration, if you can't tell. But yeah. So he said he wanted to sort of embody this like cliche of going into the woods to sort of record, in his own words, a singer-songwriter type record. And yeah, he constantly mentions how he's like, it's a really dumb idea, but he just is like compelled by the sort of kitschy kind of cliche of, oh, we gotta like sort of think out this album in sort of the isolation of the forest and sort of have all the creative juices flowing and stuff. Like one thing that's pretty important to note, that if you've read interviews with him regarding the album when it came out in 2018, he like continuously mentions the strangeness of the house that he did a lot of the writing for the music in. I've heard it like described as a house with no like straight edges, house that's like primarily like made of like glass windows and stuff. It's almost like exclusively referred to as the Egg House. So yeah, and he said, I can't remember the exact quote, I'll probably have to find the article it was from, because I have so many articles bookmarked, but basically he was like, I know this is going to do something to me. So and it did. It kind of made him have this sort of weird kind of polarity of, during the day everything's all chill and nice and sort of beautiful, and then at night it gets kind of like paranoid and kind of like tense and like melodramatic, and he would like have flies bonking against the windows. He's like this feeling like if you ever have your windows up at like night completely and like all your lights are on, you kind of feel like you're, especially with the way the house is oriented on like a hill, you felt like he's like in this brightly lit illuminated egg making weird music, and like who the fuck could be looking in, you know, you have no idea. So there's kind of like this weird kind of paranoia, but also like an idyllic sense of like, oh, this is a, you know, nice little I think Massachusetts is where it was, neighborhood, and it's just kind of a weird kind of arrangement of setting and sort of headspace that he was in when he was composing this record. And another really important thing that isn't on this note page, but is in somewhere in, look how much fucking notes I took this much fucking notes on this shit. So much fucking notes. Like, that's why it's been hard for me to just fucking get to filming, because I have so many notes in so many different formats and platforms and shit, that like I have notes from like 2022 still, because I've been obsessed with this album. If you can't tell, I love this fucking record. But yeah, one of the major things, and I actually bought a prop to or two props, I guess. One of them I had for a while. One of the major kind of inspirations for this album's sort of lore or meta-narrative, whatever you want to call it. I call it Myriad, which is also the name of the tour. Another word for like the narrative is specifically the live show. He called it a concertscape, but also like the idea of age of the record having a sort of, in his words, a quasi libretto. And as far as I can remember, without like looking up the definition right now, a libretto is sort of like a supplementary sort of written work that you get when you go to an opera that sort of lays out the thematic sort of elements of the opera, the sort of characters and the narrative that unfolds throughout the stage show. And we'll get to the concertscape shit a little bit later, because right now I'm just talking about his initial writing process for the record in the Egg House. I think this is in like 2017 or 2016. I believe 2017, because the album came out 2018. And he had worked on the Good Time soundtrack around that time too. But he was working with the Safdie brothers for that directly. The Egg House comes afterwards. But yeah, one of the major inspiration points for the record is the film, the Kubrick film, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I also have the Arthur C. Clarke book, because I'll read you from the back of this. Fucking shit, this tripod is cumbersome as hell. This will make sense too by the end. This fucking, I mean, this will either make like more sense or make completely less sense, and it will be just like incoherent ramblings. But you know, it's worth a try. So basically, yeah, let me read this for you. As producer, director, and co-writer of the screenplay with Arthur C. Clarke, like writer of the book, like the book and the movie were made like at the same time. It's not like Jurassic Park where the book existed and the movie came out kind of afterwards, or Lord of the Rings even, where the book existed for decades and then the movie came out, like Dune. You know, the book and the movie were made together. So I think that's pretty interesting. It even mentions it too back here. Yeah, look, see, Arthur C. Clarke created a novel that captures and expands on the vision of Stanley Kubrick's immortal film. There's also so many little things in here. They like in this book when they're talking about, because myriad is actually an old word for 10,000. So like when he's flying through space and shit, it talks about like the myriads of star systems and stuff. There's even a part in the book, because the movie is very much scored with classical music. So there's a part in the book where this makes me think of Age of, specifically the opening track, where I even have it right here tabbed, where, and this is from page 187 in chapter 33, Ambassador, in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And so Discovery drove on toward Saturn, as often as not, pulsating with the cool music of the harpsichord, the frozen thoughts of a brain that had been dust for twice 100 years. Sort of talking about, because he's listening to Mozart and shit then, because he is alone on the spacecraft. This is after he's deactivated HAL, if you've seen the movie or read the book, and to keep his sort of sanity. Kind of like when Oneohtrix was working on the record in the Egg House, he's just fucking surrounding himself with media, sort of as like a coping mechanism with like the kind of tense and mysterious kind of unknowable circumstances of his current reality drifting through space. And one of the most iconic things from 2001, I don't even know if you can see it on here much, but it's the monolith, the way that the monolith gifted the apes with superior intellect and sort of problem-solving skills so that they could start to use bones as tools and sort of evolve. Oneohtrix thought it'd be kind of funny to take that like enlightening power of the monolith, sort of bequeathing humanity with like problem-solving and like tool use as like a building block for their sort of ascension into like becoming a starfaring race. Wouldn't it be funny if this is one of Trix's like philosophy for Age of. Wouldn't it be funny to have like a reverse 2001 where it's the end of the universe, and basically there's like a singularity. This little symbol right here, the little O, it kind of is. If you watch the trailer for Myriad, the tour, you see how this sort of symbol came into being, and basically, this is sort of like a stand-in in my headcanon for Age of. This is like a stand-in for the monolith, but it's like hollow. It's like a hollow monolith, and Oneohtrix has said, Daniel has said that he wants to create a sort of reverse 2001 narrative where at the end of the universe, there is this sort of monolith, sentinel, omniscient sort of AI singleton singularity type being, and basically it's so learned, so experienced at the end of time itself that what it wants to do is regress and sort of like relive, like the omniscient singularity AI is nostalgic for the petty and kind of weirdly egotistical like experiences of humankind, because it's just at the end of the universe and there's really nothing else to do. And basically how I interpret it is that I mean, he's literally said this. What the songs on the record are sort of like these weird alien AI beings at the end of time trying to reconstruct the human experience, but kind of getting it just completely like wrong in some aspects, to where there's parts of it that obviously are like, oh, this is emoting sort of chaos, or this is emoting sort of serenity, but the like disjointed and uncanny kind of disorienting nature of the tracks that these inhuman sentinel beings like try to reconstruct, it just misses the point of what humanity is all about. So it's sort of like kind of like it's like Oneohtrix is supremely aware of the absurdity of thinking you can fit the Anthropocene into a 42-minute studio album. And that absurdity of like, no, this is the human experience. These are the 4 different ages, because Age of is actually like a prefix for like Age of Echo, Age of Harvest, Age of Excess, Age of Bondage. And that, oh gosh, there's so many threads. We'll keep that thread, because you really, the ages of is an important motif that pops up over and over. But yeah, basically, this album, I talked about Going Into the Woods, the singer-songwriter album Cliche, The Nightmare Egg House, the Reverse 2001, Quasi Libretto. Another thing to talk about is compressionism and vague formalism, which are 2 sort of concepts that he kind of coined when he was working on this record, that sort of coincide with what I've been talking about the entire time. Compressionism is essentially like, with this right here in the background, this is my replica of a little snippet from the Myriad tour trailer, and this sort of conspiracy crazy board. Compressionism in Oneohtrix is sort of a way of saying it is like, we live in an age where there's so much data and information just like completely overwhelming us, like inundating us. And like compressionism is sort of both a sort of like analytical kind of strategy, but also just like a coping mechanism with the information overload that we're living in this current age. And basically it's like taking too much sensory input, but like kind of stitching it together, finding commonalities, finding common ground, and sort of creating your own sort of meaning and order in what is just complete like kind of chaos and like sensory overload. And vague formalism kind of goes into that same kind of idea of taking these vastly different, almost seemingly diametrically opposed ideas and concepts, like the 10,000 year problem of nuclear waste. Like, what do we do with nuclear waste that won't be radioactively stable for another 10,000 years, you know? And then fucking cybernetic, what is it? Cyberculture Research Unit, a fucking weird ass rabbit hole from the early to mid 90s to early aughts that became like the foundation for the current far right, like accelerationist neo-reactionary shit. Like, that's why this album's so fucking cool to me, is that sure, there's all kinds of disparate concepts and you may need to do a lot of legwork on your own to really see like how they connect with that 42 minute LP, but like once you understand that these were the thoughts in his head, Daniel Lipton's head, when he was composing this record, it starts to sort of be like, oh, I can see how this sound could embody maybe like cybernetic kind of like corruption or decay, or like a slow kind of ecological collapse or whatever. And yeah, I think that kind of covers everything. One last point about this kind of rough introspection that I don't even know what I'm going to do with in the whole grand scheme of the age of analysis, is that the album, and I've kind of been glossing over this, or not glossing over, but kind of alluding to it without saying it directly, like, this album is, like, big theme of it is human history, like, or just the history of everything, you know, like, how do we understand history as people? How do we understand it in a way that's meaningful? How do we do it without, like, creating these sort of harmful mythologies that sort of, like, go against the proper or more sort of meaningful lessons to be derived from history and culture? And I think that as like a thesis for the album, just like, human history is so strange, and if you were to sort of be an outside observer trying to make sense of it, it would kind of be impossible. To quote the song The Station, it's like trying to find the bottom of a bottomless hole.